In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
Declining memory has been linked to a common drink. You might have signs of dementia if you can't say this word. What's the word?
You know, you're not supposed to read the fine print.
They're not even going to tell me what the word is.
It's kind of like the side of a pack of cigarettes that
you shouldn't read
says
it.
Smoking can cause lung cancer and other diseases or low birth weights. And
yeah, you just shouldn't. There's just certain things you just shouldn't know.
As I recall, when they started mandating that cigarette tobacco companies put those warning labels on the sides of their packaging.
Surgeon General.
I believe originally the printing was so minute that only a gnat with the proper prescription glasses on at the time could actually read it. And they had to go in and say, are you fucking kidding me? To regulate the font size that was actually used in the printing process because, you know, well, we'll just print it really small, really, like head of a pin small. Then, you know, it's there. You can't say we're not doing it. It's just like, geez, what?
What if you're a smoking illiterate?
A smoking illiterate?
Yeah.
Are you talking about what if you are an illiterate person who happens to also be a smoker and can't read the side of the package?
Yeah, what if you're an illiterate smoker?
Then I say Godspeed to you. And you might want to switch to light 100s. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've read something about how reading, there'd been some studies done, because somebody's always getting a grant to do these studies. You know, the current presidential regime has killed like 6 million grants, and yet there are 6 million more waiting in the wings that just float in and take their place. I mean, where these grants come from, I have no idea sometimes for these studies. But anyway, somebody commissioned a study, and it has decided that in 9-year-olds over the past, it was since 2012, I want to say, so 14 years, which is kind of an odd number, but over the past roughly decade and a half, reading for enjoyment, reading as a pastime, reading for pleasure in 9-year-olds has declined 50%, while reading in 13-year-olds is down 16%. And my quip was that they had done other research and couldn't find anybody that was applicable to the circumstance that was able to read it, because that's the problem you're going to have one of these days.
How can you read a study if you don't read, right?
Well, I'm certainly hoping that what are kids doing, I think we know the answer, video games and screen time on social media, TikTok. Games. I mean, you know, it's got to be something. So hopefully they're doing something that's at least engaging them in reading something. But the problem is, I have a feeling is because this new gen, this Gen Alpha, like Gen Z has all these, you know, slang terms.
Right.
Too many, if you ask me. Every generation has its slang terms, and a lot of them, some of them actually drift into the next gen, and they hold on, you know, like cool and, you know, awesome. And, you know, those are things that usually the surfer community actually, I think, is responsible for hatching both of those in the 50s and 60s when they were ditching school and just going out and smoking a bong and going out on riding the big kahuna. But those actually caught on then in just mainstream culture over the generations that followed. So there are words that are invented, slang terms that are invented that actually catch on. And Gen Z has too many, first of all, way too many. But Gen Alpha apparently is sort of like Snoop Dogg. They're speaking a bizarre amalgam of buzzes and clicks and strange vowel combinations that have no... It's like video game noises combined with gibberish. Maddie worked around them when she was working at the middle school a few years ago. And she said, Jack, you wouldn't believe what some of these kids are saying. I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, curse words at young ages? She said, no. She said, it's like this whole new language that they speak. And it's bizarre and ridiculous. And yeah. So
what is that African language that they
Swahili?
They speak with clicks and...
I think Swahili is an actual dialect that is spoken with words. Tonal alphabet.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I said it was a series of clicks, don't take that seriously to mean it's Smithsonian time. I'm talking about nonsensical, it's a buzzing sound from a game from Minecraft that they all fucking know. Like, just this, here's an experience just to underscore my point. I was looking for a flopping fish sound effect the other day to pull off something on the radio. It was a little gag that I was doing about fishing with TNT. And I needed, an explosion sound and some flopping fish. Both. You search both on YouTube because that's where you pull a lot of the stuff from now. We have sound effects catalog still, but I don't even know where they are in the building, quite honestly, because they used to just all be digital. And they were pretty good, actually. I miss the olden days, but every single one of both the flopping fishes and especially the explosions, all of the first search results, the first 30 were Minecraft explosion sound. It was the explosion sound specifically from the Minecraft game. To Gen Z, that is the quintessential, that is the definitive sound of something exploding, is what it sounds like in Minecraft. And God knows how many other things they isolate into that vacuum. And I've decided that that's what it sounds like.
I think you and I are going to be way out of touch when we're in the old folks' home.
I'll be so thankful. I'm so thankful to be out of touch now. Anytime I find out about something I didn't know about that's repulsive, especially, it's just like, thank God I didn't know that.
Let's break down the generationals. So we've got millennials who were born between the years of 1981 and 1996. Ding. 1997 to 2012 is Generation Z, or the Zoomers. And Generation Alpha is 2013 to 2024. And then you've got the Generation Beta, which is 2025 to 2039. So those are the ones who are just being born right now. Generation X is 1965 to 1980. Baby boomers are 1946 to 1964. And then we have the silent generation, also known as the greatest generation, 1928 to 1945.
The children of the Depression and the Second World War.
Interestingly enough, you just jumped to my first point on this. A lot of this has to do with, obviously, social forming, when you grew up, during what time period, as what was going on in the world. And obviously the silent generation, you nailed it. Great Depression, World War II, the baby boomers, it was post-World War II, Vietnam era. In Generation X, which is your generation, it was the Cold War and the rise of personal computing. And then millennials, it was the coming of age in the new millennium, the dawn of the internet. So that was my generation. And then you've got the Generation Z, which is they've never known a world without the internet. And so it just is all very commonplace. And then, of course, Generation Alpha, COVID-19. That was the big event happening there.
You can follow the bouncing wars started and protracted by industrialists from the first on for a number of those generations, because the first generation you mentioned, the greatest, is they're going through the Depression as a result of economic dropouts that occurred post First World War.
Right.
And then you're going through, post Second World War, where yay, capitalism, we won.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
things are
industrial
booming,
machine. Yeah.
and the Industrial Revolution takes off. Suburbia is born. Everyone has a job. Everyone can buy a new car. The economy is rolling. Factories are here. They're not being outsourced. And then you look at Vietnam, which is, the generation, we're fucking sick of war. We don't want to kill each other for gain and profit, even if it means we're all going to live better lives. We're tired of this. So there's an ideological divide that begins. There's an actual inherentness to the culture and it's young people that says this is wrong. And this, of course, is also theorized as being when what's known as the indigo children started to show up. And at later generations, they're the rainbow children or the crystal children. And now I don't recall what the deal is here, but that's the idea that the star seeds are coming in.
Well, and I think war was a big part of the first two generations. And then you get into this idea where, obviously the Afghanistan conflict and the second Iraqi war was launched during the millennials era, but they don't really recognize that as a shaping. It's just the internet has become something that is heavily adapted, and then technology kind of takes over for the millennials and then the Gen Z. So it's interesting that wars and were a big part of the first two. Last two, it's more about technology and AI, given, I guess, context.
War moved into an automatonic state. Anyway, we don't really have wars anymore because, the most powerful nations with the most powerful militaries on the earth don't fight each other. They just do backdoor handshakes to, they steer clear of, annihilating each other because they just work together to make sure that there are small incursions around the world so that both can profit from them. That's been going on since the Iran-Contra deal of the 1980s. But anyway.
Yeah, but it's interesting that the last two or last three generations wouldn't necessarily be shaped by conflict as much, even though there clearly was conflicts going on during that era.
Yeah, but conflicts are video games. Conflicts moved into a technological era, starting with the first Gulf incursion, because, everything is suddenly computerized warfare. Yes, there are soldiers in tanks on the ground. Yes, there are, but a lot of those things are just being fired from remote locations, and they, the weapons do it all. And now we've moved into a time where it's drones. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard with this latest Iran thing that's going on in the last couple of months, the U.S. shoots down 3 or 4 drones. Iran shoots down a drone. I mean, it's all, again, it's all automatons that are doing this. And right now they're piloted by people, but at some point in probably the very near future, and what am I saying? The military is always at least 30 to 40 years more advanced than any tech that's hit general society. So they're probably using AI to fly these things now.
No, there you go.
But, the important thing is that all of the fellas who are already rich and powerful are getting more rich and more powerful as it drags out and we pay $6 a gallon for gas. So who cares how long it lasts? I think we're learning that lesson now, aren't we? With every day, it's over. Didn't you hear it's over? Really? Okay, so tell us about this agreement. And Iran says there's no agreement. And then, there will be, or there'll be consequences. And then the next day it's, okay, so do you have an agreement? Well, we're just going to hold on because we're fine. Everything's good. Don't worry about it. And in the meantime, $6 a gallon for gas, that makes a difference. When you double the price of something that's absolutely essential to most people's lives, it's going to dent your pockets. But it's nice to know that Mr. Trump and all of his friends can still afford their gas. In fact, they don't even pay for their fuel. We do. So any citizen of the world with a consciousness would not enter warfare the way that we knew it. There's nothing wrong with the thought of protecting your space from an invader, but anybody with 2 wits about them knows exactly why wars have been fought forever, pretty much, at least in modern society. And it has nothing to do with protecting territory or freedom at all. It has to do with money. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I think technology is an interesting thing. Have you seen this article that I read? It actually was kind of thought-provoking in the sense that it was kind of clickbait, which is why I followed it. And it was this guy who's a coder who coded a billionaire jet tracker. Now, when billionaires fly private in their private jets, they still have to register the flight log with the FAA. Like there's certain protocols. And so there's data that's generated by them being able to say that, GPS, we're going to go from point A to point B and real-time tracking and all of that. Well, this guy took the data and he started saying that, well, wouldn't it be interesting to take all of this public data from these private jets and essentially use it to assess emergencies via the private jet movement patterns. So being able to tell, like, if there's, something going on with like a certain region, like i.e. the Middle East or somewhere else, well, is there any kind of a sign that maybe people are getting out of Dodge by these private jet movements around the world? And it really kind of then started turning into more of a look at how people are really kind of stuck in certain situations. And would you really even have much of a warning or the ability to really leave a region on a whim like some of these billionaires do? And the answer is no, you really wouldn't, because having a jet at your disposal is not exactly something that everyone has, right? And so what turned out to be kind of, I think, a fun exercise really started kind of turning into more of this idea that there's a lot of people on this planet who really can move around the world and maybe dodge events or things that are catastrophes coming their way. And then the rest of us are really kind of stuck where we're at.
The thought is still love makes the world go round, but the problem is that if you have enough money, it can buy you anything. I just don't know that it can buy you love. So 3 cheers for love. I believe it was World Love Day today or something like that. And it's also Valentine's Day in Brazil. I didn't realize they had a different Valentine's Day than the United States or anybody else did. But apparently Brazilian Valentine's Day is June 12th. So happy Valentine's Day to Brazil.
Yeah.
Today.
Who would have thought? Valentine's Day in Brazil. Maybe their chocolate makers have a different calendar. One of the other things I wanted to add about this story was that the maker also found that after the fake news era and the anti-vaccine sentiment, climate, and misinformation became mainstream, he also really tapped into this idea that, he really was trying to seek truth. And it's like, who can you believe if there are events going on around the world? So in other words, trying to utilize maybe billionaires' movements around the globe as a way to try and read between the lines, maybe?
Well, that's very interesting. It's an interesting study. I mean, I would never have thought to commission something like that, especially as a doomsday watch of sorts. But I would think that, so that's where all of the billionaire jets are right now.
And look how many of them are in North America compared to the rest of the world.
I would say 80 to 85% of that map is consolidated in North America. There are jets on top of jets on top of jets on that map in North America, whereas there's just one little one sticking out here and there.
Isn't that interesting? When you look at the world from that perspective, as to that's where the wealth is concentrated, and then you look at the vast amounts of land in Africa, South America, Southeast Asia. I mean, it's pretty wild. The Apocalypse Early Warning System. Check it out.
The Apocalypse Early Warning System. Okay. All right. I'll stick it on my my favorites.
On your bookmarks.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure that, I'm checking it daily to see if there's any upward trends in something that looks Armageddon-ish, I guess. But on my way here, I'm doing a preemptive ventilation shaft in addition to an official one today.
So should we? Oh, so this is the unofficial.
Yeah, this is just anecdotal.
Okay.
But trust me, I'll try to hold back, but it's difficult for me to do. So our town. Would you say our town, that we live in is still relatively small? It's a relatively small town.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so we live in a relatively small town that was founded, the bulk of the building and everything started to go up in the teens and 20s here. And it's established in a pretty tight valley and sadly outgrowing its geographical footprint rapidly. No one could see. We have a housing crisis here because there's literally just not enough space to put enough housing or apartments. We just had a 7-story apartment complex go up in the downtown, and that's kind of unheard of. It's one of a number of multi-story units that are now here in town, multi-story complexes. Yeah, so we have a housing crisis as a result of that. Housing prices are an issue. We also have roadways that I would say most of, if not all of, the major thoroughfares here in our town are facing spatial difficulties and limitations. There aren't enough lanes. There aren't enough bypasses. There aren't enough on-ramps. It's crowded.
Yeah.
And it's not designed to hold the number of people that have come into the town in the last couple of decades in particular. Because I remember, I've lived here my whole life, and certainly growing up as a boy here, it was completely different. And then I remember a time when it was not this congested as recently as the late 1990s or early aughts. So this has been the last 20 years or so when this real big influx has started. So who could have known that on one side of town, on the main drag, where the McDonald's restaurant used to be, when they decided to close it because they wanted a bigger, better one, they moved it directly across the street, just about, onto a corner that is not particularly busy by trade, but has become busier by the day over this course of all the people moving into the area from out of town.
It's kind of a bottleneck.
So there is a left-hand turn that goes onto the street that will then take you to an immediate right, if you so choose, to go into the McDonald's drive-thru. The word invariably is probably too frequent a suggestion to use that it happens this often, but it has happened to me a number of times now in the past few years, that you make this turn and traffic is backed up onto the public roadway because of the drive-through, the length of the drive-through line at McDonald's. Now, the first issue, of course, is I am mortified, and my misanthropic nature is piqued at the very thought of the McDonald's restaurant anywhere in the country, big city or small, being busy enough to back traffic up onto a public roadway. That disgusts me. I can't tell you how much I loathe that, because I despise McDonald's, and I have for a long time. But aside from that, I'm also probably even more revolted by the nature of a person, repeated nature of people who think that it's okay for them to block traffic on a public roadway just so they can sit in a fucking line to get a piece of nuclear waste in a styrofoam bag. It's as pugnacious as it gets. It's reprehensible, and it'll send me into orbit quickly, which it did today, because I make the turn and I'm the fourth person and I'm backed up almost into the intersection now, blocking all traffic. And you don't ever want to be that guy, but it's not my fault. It's the yahoo, and that's a very polite word that I'm using to describe the gentleman in the black truck that's up there blocking traffic so he can sit in line at McDonald's. So just a heads up for the entire world, and I know this is an In-N-Out burger thing the world over now too, the lines stretch out for blocks. If you are blocking traffic anywhere in the world so that you can eat a fast food burger, you are an asshole. And you need to fucking get your head pulled out of that asshole as quickly as possible. Period. I will offer you this advice as well, knowing, of course, that McDonald's will never be a sponsor of this particular show, just because even if they asked, I would say I'm out if that's the case forever. The blockage that you may cause by pulling such a pugnacious act, not even close or tantamount per scale of the blockages that will happen in your bowels and arteries should you continue to dine at McDonald's. So why don't you stop and give all of us a break? And if you insist on going there and the line is that long that you're going to back up traffic by sitting in the line in your car, you need to go inside. It's just one of those days. Oh, look, honey, the line's too long. I wouldn't want to be the motherfucker who blocks traffic to sit in line for a Big Mac. So we're going to go in today.
You wouldn't.
And we're going to give a few people a smile while we're going to make an excuse to make this a happy day. We're going to turn those arches upside down.
Mind you that this is the same McDonald's that has installed 2 lanes so that they can serve people faster.
It's actually the one on my side of town that I'm talking about, not your side of town.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the one over here, I don't believe has a second lane. They need a second lane desperately. What they need is to close the goddamn drive-thru forever.
Jeez.
And basically make it a come on in restaurant.
So you're telling me that they have like a queue of cars all the way down to that intersection?
That's right. And I have seen this more than one time now.
Wow.
Many more than one time. I would say this is probably the 4th or 5th time I have encountered in the last couple of years someone that has pulled this stunt. And it's unconscionable to me. I am not a violent person, but I can get roused easily, of course, if I see something that I feel is despicable enough in front of me. And I was this close to pulling into the restaurant's parking lot, getting out and walking over to this gentleman's window and, hey, buddy, happy Friday. I'd like to have a fucking word with you for a second. Just one word.
Golden arches.
Well, that's 2 words.
You probably would have been shot.
I would like to send you to the golden arches, my friends. I would like to send you to the golden arches in the fucking sky about right now. You've got to fucking be kidding me.
That's a one-track mind right there.
Than that. We've got to do better than that. Better than that. Way better.
Do you have your notes on the second one?
I do. I have my official.
All right. Let's cue it.
Ventilation shaft today.
Ventilation shaft. This ventilation shaft brought to you by the good friends at the Golden Arches. McDonald's.
Not to be confused with McDonald's. The Golden Arches is a guerrilla warfare team that goes into McDonald's and around McDonald's everywhere and attempts to get people off of the food forcibly if necessary.
Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum.
There's probably a really bad line sitting in there about the San Isidro massacre in 1984 that I just actually watched a documentary on. Thumbs down, by the way, to the documentary maker. I appreciate not wanting to lavish the shooter with a bunch of attention for the sake of glamorizing what they perpetrated. But there was such an ignorance to it that the documentary felt vastly incomplete. You don't have to name the person, but you need to at least make some allusions to at least the days and times leading up to when this happened, in my personal opinion. I'm not a filmmaker, but I write for a living, and I felt like it was very in your face. There was also a cop hate to this too, because we're going back and we're asking a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas of all the cops that were involved. What if you'd have gotten there a few minutes earlier? What if you hadn't gone to the wrong McDonald's first? What if you'd have taken the shot that you had clear? What if, it was really kind of ridiculous. It was just sort of like, this isn't Minneapolis. This happened in 1984. We weren't ready for mass shooting incidents. They were very rare at the time. Give these guys a break. They were probably as scared shitless as you would be if you were around that area at the time. All right. Anyway, moving on to the official ventilation shaft for today. I'm going to read this. It's not my writing, so forgive me. It's not how I would articulate this, but it's an article that I pulled up. It's very quick. As you know, I'm not a big sports watcher anymore. I've never been a fan of women's softball, but apparently right now the NCAA softball and baseball tournaments are occurring. So just a little backdrop on this. So here's the article. Says we've all known someone who's had some kind of superstition they were convinced brought them good luck, especially in the world of sports. Currently playing in the NCAA women's softball tournament, enter one Hannah Wells. of the University of Texas, who seems to have employed a new one. Since Wells was a little girl, she's believed that if she sees a ladybug, she eats it to attain good luck. To back that up, while playing in Kentucky in the SEC tournament recently, Wells hit a home run just after ingesting a ladybug in the dugout. Interesting what will set certain people off. Enter yours truly. Hannah, you also need to get your shit together. The ladybugs are known as Lucky Charms the world over. They're considered to be very fortunate to see. If they land on you, they are supposed to bless you with good luck. You are showing your penchant for moonshine swilling, STP huffing, backwoods, wherever you're from, Texas garbage, by eating everything that might land on you. Is that what you do? You just eat everything that you see? Or, I mean, save it for boogers in the dugout when the camera is not looking. Ladybugs are supposed to grace us with good luck wherever they go. And when you ingest them, they die. And you're taking that opportunity away from someone that might actually see the miracle of the ladybug and feel as though they are being blessed with the charms that it brings them from God Almighty. So please, for God's sake, stop eating ladybugs for good luck. I recommend sticking with Frosted Flakes or whatever it is that you would ordinarily eat before the game. Now we're conflating soccer with
My son received
softball
his first
too, I guess. So that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. I don't give a shit about the game. I just want this woman to stop eating ladybugs. And I wouldn't care if it were any other kind of bug. I'm sure people are saying, Jack, you wouldn't care if it was a grasshopper. Yes, I would. Lucky grasshopper, lucky cricket, lucky cockroach. Stop eating living things for good luck. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's also nasty. Do you have well, I'm not even going to go there because it's just it's its own thing.
Andres Cantor with the ventilation shaft.
Sounds like an air raid siren.
He does. He's got a gift, that one.
We're calling that a gift. Okay.
It is.
All right, we're calling that a gift.
Those.
All right, very good. Closing it up.
Ventilation shaft.
Don't eat
Damn shark's mother?
Don't eat any more fucking ladybugs, Hannah Wells, truly, or I'm going to come find you.
Yeah, ladybugs didn't do anything to deserve that. And
It's just such a backwoods, I mean, you know, again, what a just redneck dumb fuck thing to do. You know, I eat ladybugs when they land on me for good luck. What the fuck is that? You know, where did you learn that trick? What one-eyed uncle, you know, that got that way from the unfortunate accident with the tractor fucking taught you that trick? You know, if you eat ladybugs, Hannah, they're good luck. You're going to hit home run after home run. Fucking A, man. Come on. You know, give us a break. Where is the grace in the world today?
there is
ladybug.
none.
I remember the last ladybug that I saw. Maddie had gone on a trip with her family. It was kind of the last big family hurrah out-of-state trip after she met me. And she went to see extended family a couple states over. And, you know, I mean, that doesn't bother me. I don't want to keep her away from her family. I just am a worry machine. You know, I just want her to be okay. And so, you know, when they were there and they were hanging out and it was a small town in rural Western state, that was fine. But anytime that she was moving on the road, you know, and I knew it, I was just, please keep her okay. Please be okay. Please be okay. Because I'm just a worry machine. So I remember I was charged with going over to her parents' house to take care of their dog while they were gone, to feed and water the dog. And, you know, and the first night that she was gone and she was on the road, I went outside and a ladybug landed on my windshield at a stoplight on the way over. And I thought, oh, how wonderful. And then I thought, well, as soon as I start moving, this ladybug's going to blow away. No, she stuck to that windshield the whole time somehow in, 35 mile an hour winds that were created by my car moving forward. And I absolutely know it was because she was coming to tell me, hey, everything is okay, sport. She'll be fine. Don't worry about it. See, so if Hannah had eaten that ladybug, I would never have been assuaged from a panic attack that was coming on.
Yeah.
So, see, all things are connected, Hannah. It's time to get the message, sweetheart.
Or the Doomsday Clock, for that matter, because isn't it like getting tighter and tighter by the day or something?
Doomsday Clock is now closer to midnight than it has ever been, and this largely has to do with the rise in artificial intelligence technology over the last couple of years, because there is a significant threat from that. And it's kind of ambiguous as to whether the threat is thought to be of a Skynet variety, that it will actually attain some kind of intelligent control over enough of our important systems that it will essentially begin to, control us, that it will usurp humanity or try.
Like a Terminator situation.
Right. Or if this is based on just the human error of allowing it to control too many systems which are critical and it failing to do the job that a person would. In other words, do you fire all of the nuclear techs to save whatever you're going to save at 3 Mile Island or any nuclear power installation around the world, or let's say in a missile silo, now we're going to war games. Do we take the men out of the loop, as they said, in war games and replace them with machines that can think and just do what they're told to do, but those machines don't do what they're told to do. They fail in some way, and they actually start shit. They start a global thermonuclear incursion rather than, just tactically battling or, doing what they're supposed to as part of one that, when they're given controls, commands by humans to do so. So anyway, that's why there are many reasons, there are many factors that influence the Doomsday Clock, and there are many reasons why it has ticked closer to midnight than ever before over the last couple of years. But artificial intelligence is one of the driving factors, one of the biggest driving factors as to why it has ticked below a certain point. And they basically said that the makers of the clock have also said, I believe, that it's not one of those deals where there's a past the point of no return with the clock as well. That basically there's no way that we can get a second to midnight and then, avert disaster and suddenly over the course of the next decade, suddenly go to a minute to midnight again. Once you get to 15 seconds or 12 seconds or something like that, it's a snowball effect. There's no way it can reverse and go backwards. I remember reading that, I believe, as part of the clock's working dynamics. So anyway.
And do we really want to test the Doomsday Clock? I don't think we really want to test the Doomsday Clock, do we?
Well, once again, I default to a line from a movie with Chad Lowe and Christy Swanson called Highway to Hell that I saw when I was falling asleep one night when I used to watch TV to go to sleep, which is a terrible idea, by the way, and I'm glad I stopped doing it.
The
because
worst.
it put a lot of shit in your subconscious. But 1994, I want to say, low budget, really good movie, though. Strangely enough, a really good kind of low budget. Horror is going too far. I don't think it's horrific. But there's a guy in there who plays the devil, and hell is basically just the landscapes of the deserts of Southern California, which are hot and dry. And so there's not a lot that's made of it to be, all fire and brimstone-y. And it's not like Legend, where it's a big red guy with horns, or the devil is a normal looking dude. He appears as such anyway. And I just know the line that I was really awestruck by, because it's such great writing for a movie like that, especially. He's talking with our hero, who is, of course, a human and who has come down to the underworld to retrieve his girlfriend, who has been abducted by Hellcop, which is this sort of rogue agent of this demonic agent. And they're having a bit of a discussion at one point, and he talks about the end of the world, and he says, you humans, you're all the same. You're so foolish. You think you're all going to go out in a blaze of amazing glory. And he said, no, I'm afraid human beings will be around for a very long, long time. And in remarking just that in the way that he did, he's obviously more than inferring that our light will burn out very slowly and very painfully over a series of millennia that will be hard lessons that we will not learn. And I felt like that was a very great line because it's very demonstrative. You know, I mean, saying that, you know, yes, your world will blow up. Well, again, we love a blaze of glory, don't we? So if we all go out because of Chicxulub Part 2 or Super Volcano, the movie for real life, I mean, fuck it. You know, we love that shit. We love a good, you know, John Wayne flick where everybody just dies at the OK Corral at the end because it's manly. You know, it's the way it should happen. But he's saying exactly what I've always felt like, which is no, human constraints will hang on for a long time, regardless of how desperate they become. And it's a sad situation. And that's where we're going when college softball players are eating ladybugs for good luck. That's and right. Assholes are blocking traffic on a public roadway to line up for a turd on a bun at McDonald's. So those are the kinds of things when you can start with at the ground level, we can cease those behaviors, and suddenly we're coming up a notch, and I'm not as afraid. Actually, I'm not afraid at all, but I just don't like the scenario that I'm a part of right now. It triggers my misanthropic nature, as I said earlier.
Wouldn't you hate to be...
That's the sound.
Wouldn't you hate to be in the drive-thru when the end is near? It's the end of the world, and you're stuck in the drive-thru. There's nowhere to go.
I think that being in the drive-thru is literally summoning the end for you, especially in McDonald's. Like I said, if you continue to eat there, you will die a slow, painful death. The pancreas will get wiped out, the liver, maybe go after your gallbladder. Maybe you'll get GERD so bad that it'll just like foam out your esophagus. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen to you. So, places you wouldn't want to be when the world is ending. Does it matter? I mean, where do you want to be? What would you want to be doing? Everybody's going to say, I want to be doing something that I love. You know, I want to be, I want to be, I want to be having sweaty intercourse with my significant other or with the hottest chick I could possibly meet. And, that's when it all goes boom. Or I want to be riding my horse on the beach, or I want to be, engrossed in painting, putting the last strokes on a masterpiece but let's face it, most people, should an end come, and when the end does come by natural means, like these tornadoes that kill people and earthquakes and things like that, are probably engaged in anything but a passionate exercise at the time. They're probably doing the most prosaic things imaginable, the most mundane circumstances. I always wonder about this. What happens to the people that live where a 7.2 earthquake shakes things up, but you're like getting a root canal, or you're in the middle of spleen surgery, right, and suddenly it's like, oh shit, we've got a major earthquake here. I mean, what happens to you if you're on the table? Because you're out. You don't know. I hate to break it to you folks, but those angiotryon anesthetics that they have are going to knock you out to the point where you're going to sleep through a megathrust earthquake, amazingly as that sounds. So if you're cut open from stem to stern and they're tinkering around with something inside of you and there's a major disaster outside that impacts the hospital and its power, what happens to you? Do you just...
Right. Another great reason not to have surgery in Japan.
Japan is so Aquarian to the bitter end. Japan is just Uranus on speed. With all of the nuclear and all of the sudden, unexpected chaos and disaster. That nation thrives and has for centuries on sudden, unexpected upheaval. And I believe it is an Aquarius, actually, its birth date. Its original ancient birth date places it as an Aquarius. And it also has many Aquarian placements in its chart. So it's Uranus energy to the core. And it's because they also have this nuclear thing going. That's total Uranus energy too. These bombs that were dropped, and then these nuclear plants that they embrace afterwards. And then Fukushima went boom, and they love, and they're afraid of their giant lizards that come out of the sea that are irradiated and melted off giant blocks of ice because of underground nuclear testing. As I recall, that's how Godzilla was actually awakened in the original movie. The original Japanese movie
Right.
is they're conducting underground nuclear tests, and they, blow it up, and this giant monster is melted out of this chunk of ice. It's been down there safely frozen like a bird's eye dinner for who knows how long, but like so. This is crazy. This is crazy.
That would be what you would ask the surgeon in Japan. You'd be like, all right, well, Dr. Kiyomoto, this sounds all just fine and dandy. I just have to ask you one final question before I pull the trigger on this procedure. What happens to me, or what is the protocol if I'm under and Godzilla does decide to strike during surgery?
And the reaction is, oh, Godzilla. Because that's the reaction in all the movies. I find, well, anyway, that doesn't matter. There's that question. And then I think the other question I have is, are you going to eat sushi off of my naked incisioned body while I'm under anesthetics? Because that's a thing there, and it's a pretty big thing. It's not like this unusual one-off. There are many, 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 many places, apparently, from what I understand, that you can eat sushi off a naked body in Japan. That's what people do for a fucking living over there. You meet people just randomly getting a newspaper on the street at the corner. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? I'm Kimoko. What do you do, Kimoko? I work at the naked sushi place, and people eat naked sushi off my body from between the hours of 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. And it's like,
naked
that's
sushi.
a job. It's like, oh yeah, it's a job, and I make good tips too. People. I mean, when you eat raw fish off a person, they're expected to leave a lot of yen. So,
wow,
it's great.
So, what does the person do while they just sit there and just meditate while people eat sushi off of them, or? See, these are the questions that leave me awake at night.
I'm honestly shocked that this wasn't an advent of the United States. I'm not, because in Japan, it's a sensual exercise. It's not just smut. Here, it would just be smut, because it'd just be, spread out a bunch of Funyuns on that rack and let's eat them. It's just smut in the U.S. So there, it's a sensual exercise. It's part of the experience of not only enjoying and imbibing the sushi, but it's also part of enjoying the naked body with sushi's on you're sitting on the nakedness, and it's a big, it's a synergistic exercise. Whereas here, it's just crude. It's another thing you'd wait in line at 3 a.m. and block public traffic for at fucking McDonald's. Come eat a Big Mac off a naked chick, or the new Egg McMuff. Come take a bite.
Or a bikini barista.
Yeah, that's why bikini barista stands were invented here, and naked sushi was invented in Japan, because I
always wondered that.
It's the difference in the sensual nature of the people just across the board. So bikini, and here's the thing. I've never been to a strip club in my life. I remember my brother tugged on me hard one time in State Line, Idaho, to get me in. He said he'd pay for everything, and I just wouldn't do it. It was ridiculous how hard he tugged, too. I must have spent 15 minutes fending him off and saying, no, I'm not going in. Why? Why not? Because I just don't want to. I don't want to sink, basically, to that level. I've never been in one. I was like 28 or 32 or something at the time, and it was just like, I'm not going to break my streak now. I have no need to go into a place like that. Not that I'm opposed to anything that goes on there. I could do without the alcohol, of course, especially excessive amounts, but the nakedness and the poles and the lap dances, I don't care. Sex doesn't bother me. People have too much of it, and there are too many people doing it irresponsibly. But anyway, that aside, I'm not bothered by the whole engine of what's driving that establishment. I just don't want to go in myself. But anyway, I just I remember getting into a conversation with one of his friends one time about going to strip clubs. And they, of course, had all been many times. And I'm sitting there, the virgin by choice. And, I'm going to abstain permanently as far as I'm concerned. I've still got my record in touch here. So I'm going into 53 years here pretty soon. But I just remember one of his friends describing it like being hungrier than you've ever been before in your life, and going to a restaurant where all the food is amazing looking, so edible, like you couldn't believe like how tasty all the food looks, but it's all behind a thick pane of glass and you're never going to taste a fucking bite. Why would anybody do that to themselves? That's exactly how this friend of his described going to strip clubs. You know, you're as horny as you're going to get, and you can't, you know, you don't have a girlfriend, you don't have a side piece, you don't have the money for a hooker, I guess, if you swing that way. There's just no getting around it. You're masturbating. That's the only way it's going to happen. You don't want to. You want to actually have sex. And so what you choose to do to sate this desire is you go into a place where you can see naked women writhing on a pole and, you know, doing it on your stomach or your lap dances or whatever, but no actual sexual intercourse or any kind, you know, will happen at all. Why would you do that to yourself? This is how serial killers and rapists are born. And he's right. I feel like psychologically he's right on the money. This is a terrible idea. And that's why there's a lot of illegal activities that actually go on in those places. You just don't. Blowjob isn't on the menu, you know, next to the cherry Coke that costs $18.50, but you can arrange it. You can't talk about it up front. You have to talk about it with the girls in the back. Because
it's like a code word.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, that's the way a lot of those places work. But I'm basing that on TV, so maybe I don't know. Anyway, I always really appreciated the candor of his analogy, because I felt like, you know what, you're right. That is you're literally you're poking the beast without actually allowing it to just, you know, do its thing. So anyway. We're in the mosh pit.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of the Apocalypse early warning system, it is at a level 1 out of 5, by the way.
Okay, well, that's good news.
Yeah, it's good news for everyone.
So this may be in poor taste, but it goes back to my teenage years. I referenced the San Ysidro massacre in 1984. It was immortalized by a Seattle metal band in the 80s called Coven. They were, again, from Seattle, so they're our neck of the woods. And it's called McDonald Land Massacre. But you got to love the lyrics, especially going out. I mean, quarter pounder, Big Mac, filet of fish or fries, it doesn't matter what you order, everybody dies. And in my opinion, that lives on in timeless infamy because it's true about eating the food. So that's how I look at this. That's how I've always viewed the song, is less about the actual historical occurrence and more about this is a lesson for all of you that like to eat fast food.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you know what the scary thing is? The creator of the Apocalypse early warning system, his name is Kyle McDonald.
Of course he'd be one of the McDonald's. Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, I figured I'd share today. I've had this CD for many, many years, going back to the day.
Oh, headbanger you are. All right, Jack, till we meet again, let's bang our heads out of this place.
Say hello to Mayor McCheese on your way uptown.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own Existence Brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.